Admiral Kang Minho stood on the bridge of Seoul's Pride, watching the star charts with tired eyes. For 37 years, humans had fought alongside their alien allies against the Void Swarm. For 37 years, they had bled together, died together, and pushed back the endless hungry darkness that wanted to consume every living thing in the galaxy. Today would be different. Today they would finally end this war. The battle fleet stretched across space like a metal constellation. Human ships flew next to the elegant vessels of the hegemony, the blocky warships of the collective, and the sleek destroyers of the Empire. 4 species united against a common enemy. 4 species that had learned to trust each other completely. Captain Lee Nara walked up to the Admiral, her boots clicking on the metal deck. "Sir, all human squadrons report ready. Dr. Park Ji-won says his new weapon systems are online and tested." Minho nodded. The doctor had worked for months on these new anti-swarm weapons. They used technology shared by all 4 allied species, combining human engineering with alien science. It was supposed to be their secret weapon, the thing that would finally break the swarm's advance. "What about our allies?" Minho asked. "The hegemony fleet is in position on our left flank. The collective holds the right. The Empire covers our rear," Nara reported. "Admiral Vorthak of the hegemony sends his regards and says today we write history." Minho smiled grimly. History indeed. The Battle of Kepler 442 would be remembered as the day they saved the galaxy. Colonel Ryu Daeho approached from the communication station, his face troubled. "Admiral, I'm picking up strange signals from our allied fleets. Encrypted transmissions on frequencies we don't recognize. Probably just tactical coordination," Minho said, but something cold touched his heart. "Keep monitoring." The Void Swarm ships appeared on sensors like a black tide. Thousands of bioships, grown rather than built, pulsing with alien life and hunger. They moved in perfect coordination, a single mind controlling millions of bodies. The Allied fleet had faced them before, but never in such numbers. "All ships, this is Admiral Minho," he broadcast to the entire Allied fleet. "Today we end this war. Today we save our homes, our families, and our future. Fight well, fight together, and victory will be ours." The response from human ships was immediate and strong. The alien replies came slower, more formal. Minho tried not to think about that. The battle began with long-range fire. Energy beams and missiles crossed the empty space between the fleets. Human ships used their new weapons, and the swarm bioships began dying in ways they never had before. The doctor's technology was working. "Sir, we're punching holes in their formation," reported the tactical officer. "The new weapons are incredibly effective, but the swarm adapted quickly. They always did. Their ships began changing, evolving new defenses even as they fought. What had been easy kills became harder targets. Hegemony fleet is moving to attack position," Nara called out. "Collective ships are—" "Wait." The pause stretched too long. Minho turned to look at her. "Sir, the collective fleet is changing course. They're moving away from the battle." "Communications error," Minho said automatically. "Signal them to return to position." But deep in his gut, he knew it wasn't an error. The tactical display showed the truth in cold blue light. The collective ships were withdrawing, not retreating from enemy fire, but simply leaving the battle. One by one, their ships turned and accelerated away from Kepler 442. "Admiral Vorthak is requesting private communication," the communications officer reported. "Put him through." The hologram of the hegemony admiral appeared, his scaled face unreadable. "Admiral Minho, I regret to inform you that the hegemony can no longer participate in this battle." "What are you talking about?" Minho demanded. "We're winning. The new weapons are working. The hegemony has reached a separate understanding with the Void Swarm. We withdraw immediately. I advise you to do the same." The hologram cut out. Around Seoul's Pride, the elegant hegemony ships began turning away from the battle. Colonel Ryu Daeho was shouting into his communicator. "Empire Fleet, please respond." "Empire Fleet, what is your status?" The answer came not in words but in action. The Empire ships, which had been guarding the rear, simply vanished into hyperspace. In less than 10 minutes, the human fleet found itself alone against the entire Void Swarm. All human ships. "This is Admiral Minho," he broadcast, trying to keep his voice steady. "Form defensive formation. Prepare for fighting withdrawal." But there would be no withdrawal. The swarm had positioned itself perfectly, using intelligence that could only have come from the allied species. The bioships moved to surround the humans, cutting off every escape route. Captain Lee Nara stood beside him, her face pale but determined. "Orders, sir?" Minho looked at the tactical display. 60% of the human fleet would die here, maybe more. The betrayal was complete and perfectly timed. The aliens had let humans develop the new weapons, let them commit their entire fleet to this battle, and then abandoned them to be destroyed. "Sir, incoming transmission from a swarm bioship," the communications officer reported with surprise. "Put it through." The voice that came through the speakers was artificial, created by the swarm's collective mind. "Human Admiral, the species you called allies have given us your territories in exchange for peace. Your worlds will feed our growth. Your resistance ends here, so that was it." The three allied species had made a deal. Human space would be sacrificed to the swarm in exchange for their own safety. 37 years of friendship, trust, and shared sacrifice meant nothing when survival was at stake. "Sir, what are your orders?" Nara asked again. Minho looked around the bridge at his crew. Good people, all of them. People who had trusted their allies just as he had. People who were about to die because of that trust. "Signal all ships," he said quietly. "We fight. We make them pay for every meter of space, every second of time. We show them what humans do when we're betrayed." The battle was hopeless, but it was also glorious. Human ships fought with desperate courage, taking impossible risks and achieving impossible victories. Dr. Park Ji-won's weapons continued to work, even as the swarm adapted to them. For every human ship that died, 3 swarm bioships died with it, but there were too many enemies and too few friends. Soul's Pride shuddered under enemy fire. The shields were failing and hull breaches were spreading through the ship. Around them, the human fleet was being systematically destroyed. "Admiral, escape pods are ready," Nara reported. "We can get you out of here." "No," Minho said firmly. "I stay with my ship." He activated the fleet-wide emergency broadcast, the one that would be recorded and transmitted to every human world. "This is Admiral Kang Minho to anyone receiving this transmission. We have been betrayed by those we called allies. The hegemony, the collective, and the empire have abandoned us to the swarm in exchange for their own safety. Remember this betrayal. Remember who your real friends are. And remember who your enemies are." He paused, watching another human ship explode on the main screen. "To my people on Earth and all our colonies, learn from this. Trust carefully, and when someone betrays you, make them pay for every life, every drop of blood, every moment of pain they have caused." This is Admiral Minho, Soul's Pride, signing off. The transmission ended just as the swarm bioships closed in for the final attack. Soul's Pride died fighting, taking 6 enemy ships with her. In the silence of space, the Battle of Kepler 442 was over. The human fleet was destroyed, their admiral was dead, and the galaxy's balance of power had shifted forever. But Admiral Minho's final message was already racing toward Earth at the speed of light, carrying with it a simple promise. Humans would remember this betrayal, and they would make their former allies pay for it in ways they could not yet imagine. General Kim Hana stood in the ruins of Earth's orbital defense station, looking at the emergency council meeting through a cracked screen. The news from Kepler 442 had reached Earth 3 days ago. Admiral Minho was dead. 60% of humanity's fleet was gone, and their trusted allies had sold them to the Void Swarm like cattle. The council members were arguing as politicians always did. Some wanted to surrender immediately. Others demanded revenge attacks that would only get more humans killed. A few suggested trying to negotiate with their former allies as if betrayal could be forgiven with the right words. Hana turned away from the screen. She had work to do. The surviving human fleets were scattered across a dozen star systems, licking their wounds and waiting for orders. The aliens thought humanity was finished. The hegemony had already sent ships to claim the outer colonies. The collective was moving toward the mining worlds. The Empire was preparing to take the agricultural planets. They thought humans would either surrender or die fighting uselessly. They were wrong on both counts. Agent Cho Sunwoo materialized beside her like a shadow. He had been Admiral Minho's intelligence officer before the battle, and now he worked directly for Hana. "General, the packages have been delivered." "All of them?" Hana asked. "Every single one. Our people in alien space have received their orders and their resources. They're ready to begin Phase 1 whenever you give the word." Hana nodded. For 15 years, humans had been quietly placing their people in alien societies. Traders, students, researchers, tourists, all of them had seemed harmless, and most of them actually were harmless. But some carried special training and special tools waiting for a day like this. Engineer Beck Yuna approached from the other side of the ruined station, her arms full of data tablets. "General, I have the complete files Dr. Park Ji-won prepared before Kepler 442. The files were humanity's greatest secret weapon, though the aliens didn't know it yet. For 37 years, the allied species had shared their technology freely with humans. Ships, weapons, computers, manufacturing techniques, even basic scientific principles. They had trusted their human allies completely. That trust had been their first mistake. Dr. Park Ji-won and his team had done more than just copy alien technology. They had improved it, refined it, and in many cases completely redesigned it. The weapons used at Kepler 442 were just the beginning. Hidden in secret facilities across human space were manufacturing plants, research labs, and prototype workshops that the aliens had never seen. "Show me the economic analysis," Hana ordered. Yuna activated a holographic display that filled the air with charts and numbers. "The alien economies are more fragile than they appear. The hegemony depends on resource extraction from exactly 7 key worlds. The collective's manufacturing is concentrated in 3 star systems. The Empire's food production comes from 12 agricultural planets. And we know where all of these are," Hana said. "We know where they are, how they operate, who owns them, and how much they're worth," confirmed Yuna. "Dr. Park Ji-won spent decades mapping alien economic systems. He said it was important to understand your allies completely." Hana smiled grimly. The doctor had been wiser than anyone knew. The truth was that humanity had always been the stronger partner in the alliance. Human technology was more advanced, human industry was more efficient, and human economic systems were more flexible. But humans had hidden this strength, sharing only simplified versions of their technology while keeping their best innovations secret. The aliens thought they were protecting a younger, weaker species. In reality, they had been living under the protection of a power they never understood. "What about the Void Swarm?" Hana asked. Agent Sunwoo activated another display. "Our analysis suggests the peace deal won't last. The swarm doesn't make permanent alliances. They'll consume the human territories first, then turn on their new allies within 5 years. But the aliens don't know that," Hana said. "They think they've solved their swarm problem forever. They're already celebrating and planning how to divide up human space." "Perfect. Let them celebrate. Let them think they were safe and clever. Meanwhile, humanity would prepare their real response." The door to the command center opened and President Lim Chae-won entered with her security detail. The old woman looked tired, but her eyes were sharp and angry. "General Kim, what is the status of our remaining forces?" 40% of our fleet survived the battle, Madam President. They're regrouping in the Tau Ceti system. Additionally, we have significant reserves that the aliens never knew about." The President raised an eyebrow. "Reserves? For the past 20 years, we've been building a second fleet in complete secrecy. Ships that use our advanced technology, not the simplified versions we shared with our allies. The aliens have never seen these vessels. How many ships? 312 capital ships plus support vessels. They're hidden in systems the aliens think are empty." President Lim sat down heavily. "You're telling me we've been stronger than our allies this entire time?" "Much stronger," Hana confirmed. "We chose to fight alongside them because we believed in the alliance. We thought unity was more important than dominance, and now," Hana's expression hardened, "now we know the value of alien friendship. Now we know what happens when humans trust too much." The President was quiet for a long moment. "What do you recommend, General?" "We implement the Minho Protocol." The room fell silent. The Minho Protocol was named after the dead admiral, based on contingency plans he had helped develop years earlier. It was humanity's response to total betrayal by their allies. "Explain," the President ordered. Agent Sunwoo stepped forward. Phase 1. Our people in alien space begin economic infiltration. They use shell companies to buy small businesses, invest in local projects, and establish trade relationships. They appear to be refugees or survivors seeking new lives. Engineer Yuna continued the explanation. Phase 2. We begin manufacturing and selling improved versions of alien technology. Our products will be better and cheaper than anything the aliens can make themselves. Phase 3, Hana said. We systematically acquire control of alien economic infrastructure. Mining rights, shipping companies, manufacturing plants, even government contracts. We do it through legal means, using their own laws against them. And Phase 4? The president asked. Phase 4 is total economic control, Hana said simply. The aliens will depend on us for everything. Food, transportation, communication, defense, even basic consumer goods. They'll be client states in everything but name. President Lim stared at the holographic displays showing alien worlds and trade routes. How long will this take? 10 to 15 years for complete success, Yuna estimated. But we'll see significant results within 5 years. And what about the Void Swarm? We let them consume the territories the aliens gave them, Hana said coldly. When the swarm turns on our former allies, we'll be the only ones capable of stopping them. For a price. The president stood up slowly. General Kim, I'm giving you complete authority to implement the Minho Protocol. Use whatever resources you need. Take whatever actions are necessary. Yes, Madam President. But understand this, the president continued, her voice hard as steel. This isn't just about revenge. This is about survival. The aliens have shown us that they'll sacrifice us the moment it becomes convenient. We can never let ourselves be that vulnerable again. Hana saluted. Understood, Madam President. They betrayed us in war. Now we're going to take everything they own. After the president left, Hana turned to her team. Signal all our agents in alien space. Tell them the Minho Protocol is active. Signal our hidden fleets. Tell them to begin Phase 2 preparation. And the surviving ships at Tau Ceti? Sunwoo asked. They play their part. They act defeated, traumatized, and desperate for peace. They make the aliens think we're broken. Hana looked out at the stars through the station's damaged windows. Somewhere out there, alien leaders were toasting their clever betrayal. They thought they had eliminated humanity as a galactic power. They had no idea they had just awakened something far more dangerous than any military fleet. Human economic warfare, backed by superior technology and unlimited patience. The real war was just beginning. 5 years had passed since the betrayal at Kepler 442, and the galaxy looked very different now. Song Ji-hoon adjusted his expensive suit as he walked into the Hegemony Trade Council building on Vorth Prime, the alien homeworld. To anyone watching, he looked like a successful human businessman who had managed to rebuild his life after the war. His company, Stellar Dynamics, had grown from a small refugee enterprise into one of the galaxy's major trading corporations. What the aliens didn't know was that Stellar Dynamics was owned by 17 different shell companies, all of which traced back to Earth's secret economic warfare division. Mr. Song, greeted Trade Minister Vorthak, the same alien who had once served as a fleet admiral. I trust your journey was comfortable? Very much so, Minister, Ji-hoon replied in perfect hegemony standard. I'm excited to discuss the infrastructure contract. The contract was worth 3 billion galactic credits. Stellar Dynamics would build a new transportation network, connecting 12 hegemony mining worlds. It seemed like a generous deal for the aliens, giving them modern shipping lanes at below market cost. In reality, it was a trap that had taken 2 years to set up. While Ji-hoon negotiated with alien politicians, CFO Yoon Minji was on the other side of the galaxy, meeting with collective industrial leaders. Her company, Minji Industries, had just bought controlling interest in the collective's largest consumer goods manufacturer. The collective leaders were happy to sell. Human companies paid well, operated efficiently, and seemed content to let alien managers run day-to-day operations. What they didn't understand was that humans were much better at reading economic data than they were at reading alien emotions. Minji had identified exactly which. Collective companies were about to face financial problems, and her human analysts had positioned themselves to buy those companies at exactly the right moment. The aliens thought they were getting lucky with generous human investors. They were actually being systematically acquired. On Earth, Director Han Woo-sung monitored both operations from his control center deep beneath Seoul. The walls were covered with holographic displays, showing alien economies in real time. Trade flows, currency exchanges, resource production, shipping schedules, employment rates, and thousands of other data points painted a complete picture of alien economic activity. Sir, the Vorth Prime contract is signed, reported his assistant. Stellar Dynamics now controls primary shipping for the entire hegemony mining sector. Excellent. What about the collective acquisition? Minji Industries has completed the purchase. They now own 67% of collective consumer production. Han smiled. In 5 years, humans had gone from defeated refugees to major players in alien economies. They had done it by being patient, generous, and apparently harmless. The aliens saw human businesses as helpful partners, not as existential threats. They were wrong. Ambassador Jin So-young stood before the Galactic Council, addressing the assembled representatives of all 3 alien species. She wore simple clothes and spoke in humble tones, presenting humanity as a reformed and peaceful civilization that had learned from its mistakes. Honored representatives, she said, humanity seeks only to rebuild our shattered worlds and find our place in the new galactic order. We have no desire for conflict or dominance. We wish only to trade peacefully and contribute to galactic prosperity. The alien representatives nodded approvingly. This was exactly what they wanted to hear. Humans had been properly humbled by their defeat. They understood their place now. Behind the ambassador's humble words was a carefully crafted economic strategy. Every trade agreement, every business partnership, every seemingly generous investment was designed to increase human control over alien infrastructure. Agent Cho Sunwoo had spent 5 years building a network of human operatives throughout alien space. Some were legitimate refugees who had started new lives. Others were deep-cover agents who had been placed years before the war even ended. All of them reported to him, and he reported to General Kim Hana. Phase 3 is ready to begin, he told Hana during their encrypted communication. We have acquired sufficient economic leverage to begin active manipulation. What's our position? Hana asked. We control 34% of hegemony resource extraction, 45% of collective manufacturing, and 28% of empire agricultural production. Additionally, we have significant ownership stakes in alien transportation, communication, and financial networks. And they still don't suspect? They think we're just successful businesses. Some alien economists are starting to notice patterns, but their governments aren't listening. The politicians are too happy with the tax revenue and employment we provide. Hana nodded. It was time to move to the next stage. The first sign of trouble came when the hegemony's largest mining corporation declared bankruptcy. Stellar Dynamics immediately offered to buy their assets, including mining rights on 3 of the hegemony's most valuable worlds. The alien government approved the sale, desperate to keep the mines operational and preserve jobs. What they didn't realize was that the mining corporation's bankruptcy had been carefully engineered. Human-controlled companies had manipulated commodity prices, disrupted shipping schedules, and created artificial shortages that made the mines unprofitable. The aliens never suspected deliberate sabotage, because humans appeared to be losing money, too. But humans controlled the companies on both sides of every transaction. Similar business failures began, happening throughout alien space. The collective second-largest manufacturer suddenly couldn't compete with cheaper human products. The Empire's primary shipping company lost key contracts when human transportation proved more reliable. In each case, human companies stepped in to provide rescue financing, buy failed businesses, or offer alternative services. The aliens were grateful for human generosity in their time of need. Engineer Beck Yuna had spent 5 years secretly upgrading human technology, while helping alien companies improve their efficiency. Her teams had installed human-designed systems in alien factories, spaceports, and communication networks. Officially, these upgrades used shared alliance technology that the aliens understood completely. In reality, the systems contained hidden protocols that could be activated remotely. All primary alien infrastructure now includes our control systems, she reported to General Hana. Transportation networks, power grids, manufacturing plants, and communication arrays. We can shut down or take control of any of them with 12 hours notice. And they have no idea. The control systems are invisible to alien detection methods. Even if they found them, they would need human technical expertise to understand what they were looking at. Dr. Park Ji-won's son, Park Hyun-woo, had inherited his father's genius for technology and his hatred for alien betrayal. He led a team of scientists who spent their time developing new products for alien markets. Consumer electronics, medical devices, transportation systems, entertainment networks, even basic household appliances. All of them contained subtle dependencies on human-controlled components and services. The aliens are becoming addicted to our technology, he explained to the council. Not just dependent, but actually addicted. Our products are so much better than their alternatives that alien consumers refuse to buy anything else. What happens if we stop selling to them? Asked President Lim. Their economies collapse within months. Their people riot. Their governments fall. The president smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. The final piece of the economic puzzle came together when human financial institutions began offering credit to alien governments. The loans seemed generous with low interest rates and flexible terms. Alien treasuries used the money to fund social programs, military upgrades, and infrastructure projects. What the aliens didn't read carefully in their loan contracts were the clauses that gave human creditors the right to seize alien assets if payments were missed, or if certain economic conditions were met, conditions that humans could trigger whenever they chose. Captain Lee Nara, now Admiral Lee Nara, commanded the reformed human fleet from her new flagship, Soul's Honor. The ship was built using humanity's true technology, not the simplified versions they had shared during the Alliance. It was twice as powerful as any alien vessel and completely invisible to alien sensors when its stealth systems were active. Admiral, we've received the signal from Earth, her communications officer reported. Phase 4 is authorized to begin. Nara looked out at the stars and thought about Admiral Minho's final message. 5 years ago, humanity had seemed broken and defeated. Now they controlled the economic lifelines of 3 major alien civilizations. Signal all human assets in alien space, she ordered. Tell them it's time to start collecting debts. The real revenge was about to begin. The economic collapse began on a Tuesday. Financial advisor Won Yoonji sat in her office on New Geneva, watching alien stock markets crash in real time. Her holographic displays showed the hegemony exchange dropping 40% in a single day, while collective industrial bonds became worthless and empire agricultural futures collapsed. To the aliens, it looked like a natural market correction. Currency fluctuations, supply chain problems, and investor confidence issues were common in any economy. What they didn't see was the careful coordination behind every failure. Phase 4 is proceeding. Ahead of schedule, she reported to Earth. Alien, credit ratings are falling faster than we projected. The beauty of the plan was its simplicity. Human companies had become so integrated into alien economies that they could cause systemic failures just by changing their business practices. When Stellar Dynamics suddenly raised shipping rates, hegemony mining operations became unprofitable overnight. When Minji Industries restructured their supply contracts, collective manufacturers couldn't get raw materials. Each change looked like a reasonable business decision. Together, they created an economic disaster. Captain Yang Duhyun commanded a fleet that didn't officially exist. His ships were registered as private security vessels, hired by human corporations to protect their business interests. In reality, they were military units operating under commercial cover. Sir, the hegemony government has requested emergency assistance, his communications officer reported. They're offering to transfer ownership of the Vorth Mining Consortium in exchange for immediate financial support. Yang smiled coldly. The Vorth Consortium controlled the hegemony's most valuable resource extraction operations. Before the war, it would have been impossible for humans to acquire such assets. Now the aliens were practically giving them away. Tell them we accept their offer, he ordered, and prepare to take possession of the mining facilities. Similar scenes were playing out across alien space. Desperate governments were selling critical infrastructure to human companies, offering military bases as collateral for loans, and signing exclusive trade agreements that gave humans control over entire economic sectors. The aliens thought they were making temporary deals to survive a financial crisis. They didn't understand that the crisis was artificial and the deals were permanent. Scientist Oh Kyung-soo had waited 8 years for this moment. As head of humanity's Technology Assessment Division, he had spent the entire post-war period cataloging every piece of alien technology that humans had pretended to need. Activate the patent claims, he ordered his legal team. Within hours, human corporations filed intellectual property lawsuits across alien space. They claimed ownership of thousands of technologies that aliens thought they had invented. The evidence was overwhelming. Detailed development records, prototype documentation, and manufacturing specifications that predated alien versions by decades. The truth was finally revealed. Humans had developed most alien technology years before sharing it through the Alliance. They had deliberately given their allies simplified versions while keeping the advanced originals secret. Now those patents belonged to human corporations, and every alien who used the technology owed licensing fees. Admiral Quan Jian received the most satisfying assignment of all. Her task force was accepting voluntary transfers of alien military assets as payment for outstanding debts. Admiral, the Collective Defense Ministry is offering us their 3rd and 7th fleets, reported her aide. They say it's temporary, just until their budget crisis resolves. How generous of them, Jian replied. Accept the transfer and integrate those ships into our defensive network. The aliens didn't understand that there would be no budget recovery. Human economic pressure would continue until alien governments had transferred all significant assets to human control. The military ships were just the beginning. What about the Empire? Her aide asked. They're trying to negotiate partial transfers. They want to keep their core fleet and give us everything else. Orders? Reject the offer. We want complete transfer or we start seizing assets for debt collection. The Empire's negotiators had tried to play hardball, threatening to declare war rather than surrender their fleet. They quickly backed down when human intelligence showed them exactly how many of their critical systems could be shut down remotely. Director Han Wusung coordinated the entire operation from his command center on Earth. His displays now showed human control over most of the galactic economy, transportation networks, manufacturing facilities, resource extraction, financial systems, communication networks, and even food production were mostly in human hands, sir. We're getting reports of riots on collective worlds, his assistant reported. Their people are angry about unemployment and shortages. Response from their government? They're requesting emergency humanitarian aid and asking human companies to restore normal operations. Grant the aid, but with conditions. Full economic cooperation, permanent trade agreements, and acceptance of human oversight for all major economic decisions. The assistant nodded and began drafting the response. The collective government would accept every condition. They had no choice. Agent Cho Sunwoo was coordinating with local operatives on dozens of alien worlds. His network had grown from a few dozen deep cover agents to thousands of human citizens working openly in alien societies. Many were refugees who had genuinely rebuilt their lives, but all of them served humanity's interests when called upon. The hegemony is requesting a meeting, he reported to General Kim Hana. They want to discuss mutual cooperation and shared prosperity. Translation? They want to surrender, but they're too proud to say so directly. Hana laughed. After 8 years of careful planning and patient execution, the aliens were finally ready to admit defeat. They just didn't want to call it surrender. Set up the meeting. Let them think they are negotiating from a position of strength. The meeting took place on neutral ground, a space station that had been built during the Alliance years. Hegemony Prime Minister Vorthak led their delegation, while humanity was represented by Ambassador Jin So-young. Ambassador, Vorthak began, the recent economic difficulties have created opportunities for increased cooperation between our species. Indeed, So-young replied politely. Humanity is always willing to help our former allies in their time of need. The phrase former allies made Vorthak's scales ripple with discomfort, but he continued. We propose a comprehensive economic partnership. Human corporations would gain expanded access to hegemony markets, while we benefit from human expertise and investment. What kind of access are you suggesting? Exclusive trading rights for critical resources, long-term contracts for infrastructure development, and collaborative management of our major industries. So-young pretended to consider the offer. These terms seem quite generous. What does the hegemony hope to gain from such an arrangement? Stability, prosperity, a return to the cooperative relationship we once enjoyed. What Vorthak didn't say was that the hegemony had no other options. Human economic pressure had made it impossible for them to operate independently. They needed human technology, human transportation, human financial services, and human manufacturing capacity. I'll need to consult with Earth, So-young said, but I believe we can reach a mutually beneficial agreement. The negotiations with the Collective and Empire followed similar patterns. Each alien government pretended they were offering partnership, while actually surrendering economic sovereignty. Each human negotiator pretended to consider the offers while already knowing they would accept complete control. Engineer Beck Yuna activated the hidden protocols in alien infrastructure systems, not to cause damage but to demonstrate capability. For exactly 30 seconds, every human-built system in alien space displayed the message, "Earth remembers Kepler 442," before returning to normal operation. The message was clear. Humans could shut down alien civilization whenever they chose. President Lim Chae-won addressed the reformed Earth Council from the rebuilt orbital station above Earth. 8 years ago, our allies betrayed us when we needed them most. They thought they could sacrifice humanity to save themselves. She paused, looking at the holographic displays showing human control over alien space. Today, those former allies have learned that betraying humanity comes with a price. They now depend on us for their survival, just as we once depended on them. The difference is that we will honor our commitments. The council members nodded. The revenge was nearly complete, but it wasn't just about punishment. Humanity had created a new galactic order where no one could threaten human survival again. "What about the Void Swarm?" asked one counselor. "Our intelligence suggests they will turn on the former allies within 2 years," the president replied. "When that happens, we will be the only power capable of stopping them." "At what price?" President Lim smiled. "Complete integration of alien societies into human-controlled economic and military structures. They will become client states under our protection. And if they refuse, then they face the swarm alone, with economies that we can shut down at will, and militaries that depend on our support. The choice would be simple: accept human protection or face extinction." The meeting ended with authorization for the final phase of the Minho Protocol. Within months, all 3 alien species would be completely dependent on human goodwill for their 10 years after the betrayal at Kepler 442. President Lim Chae-won stood on the memorial platform built where Admiral Minho had died. The rebuilt Kepler 442 system now served as humanity's galactic administrative center, a symbol of human resilience and memory. Behind her, the delegates from 3 alien species waited nervously. The hegemony, the collective, and the empire had all sent their highest officials to attend this ceremony. They had no choice. Their economies, their governments, and their survival all depended on human approval. 10 years ago, President Lim began, her voice carrying across the platform and broadcasting to billions of beings throughout the galaxy. Humanity learned a hard lesson about trust and friendship. Fleet Admiral Seo Min-soo, Admiral Minho's daughter, watched from the bridge of her flagship. The Soul's Vengeance was the most powerful warship ever built, constructed with technology that made alien vessels look like ancient relics. Around it, the human fleet stretched across space in a display of overwhelming force. But the real power wasn't in the ships. It was in the economic networks that now controlled galactic civilization. "We believed in the Alliance," the president continued. "We shared our technology, our resources, and our lives with species we called friends. We fought beside them, died beside them, and trusted them completely." In the audience, Hegemony Prime Minister Vorthak shifted uncomfortably. His government had officially apologized for the betrayal, claiming it was a regrettable tactical decision made under extreme circumstances. The apology was meaningless, and everyone knew it. On this day, 10 years ago, those friends chose to sacrifice us to save themselves. They gave our worlds to the Void Swarm and left our people to die alone. Director Park Hyun-woo operated the memorial's technology displays, showing the battle footage that had been recovered from the wreckage. Human ships fighting impossible odds while their allies fled to safety. It was a reminder that would never be forgotten. "But humanity survived," President Lim said, her voice growing stronger. "We survived, and we learned, and we adapted." The next display showed the current state of the galaxy. Economic charts, trade routes, industrial production, and resource distribution all painted the same picture. Humans controlled everything that mattered. Agent Cho Sun-woo had delivered his final report that morning. Human economic control now stood at 87% of galactic commerce, 94% of interstellar transportation, 76% of manufacturing capacity, and 82% of resource extraction. The 3 alien species existed as client states, dependent on human goodwill for their basic needs. "Today, the galaxy is at peace," the president announced. "Trade flows freely. Worlds prosper and species cooperate in harmony. This peace exists because humanity learned from betrayal and built something stronger than mere alliance, Governor." Kim Tae-hyung administered the former hegemony, core worlds from his office on Vorth Prime. The transition had been smooth once the aliens accepted reality. Human management was more efficient, human technology was more advanced, and human protection was absolute. The aliens had kept their local governments, their cultural traditions, and their sense of identity. They had simply lost the ability to make independent economic or military decisions. We built a system where betrayal is impossible, President Lim continued. Not because we forced loyalty, but because we made cooperation the only path to survival and prosperity. Financial advisor Wan Yunji managed the galactic economy from her headquarters on New Geneva. Currency flows, trade agreements, resource allocation, and industrial planning all required human approval. The aliens had economic freedom within parameters set by human policy. It was a benevolent dictatorship, but it was still a dictatorship. Some might call this revenge, the president said, looking directly at the alien delegates. They would be correct. But it is measured revenge, calculated revenge, and ultimately merciful revenge. The mercy was real. Humans could have destroyed alien civilizations completely. They could have enslaved alien populations or seized alien worlds. Instead, they had chosen economic domination that allowed alien societies to continue existing under human protection. Captain Yang Du-hyun commanded the Integrated Galactic Defense Force, which included ships and personnel from all 4 species. The aliens served willingly because human protection was their only defense against external threats. The Void Swarm had turned on the former allies exactly as human intelligence had predicted. When the bioships began consuming the territories that had been sacrificed, the aliens begged humanity for help. Humanity had responded, but at a price: complete military integration under human command. We remember Admiral Minho's final words, President Lim said. Make them pay for every life. We have done exactly that, but we chose to collect payment in control rather than blood. The memorial ceremony concluded with the reading of names. Every human who had died at Kepler 442 was remembered, their sacrifice honored, and their betrayal acknowledged. The alien delegates stood silently, knowing their species bore responsibility for every death. After the ceremony, President Lim met privately with the alien representatives in the memorial's conference center. You asked for this meeting, she said simply. What do you want to discuss? Collective Speaker Grath leaned forward. President Lim, our peoples have learned to coexist peacefully under the new system. Perhaps it is time to discuss expanding alien autonomy in certain areas. What areas? Cultural exchange programs, scientific research initiatives, limited self-governance for local matters. President Lim listened politely. You're asking for permission to make decisions without human oversight. Only in non-critical areas, Empire Chancellor Drex added quickly. We understand that economic and military matters must remain under human authority. Why? The president asked. The question surprised them. Why what? Why do you want more autonomy? Your worlds are prosperous, your people are safe, and your civilizations are growing. What would change if we gave you permission to make more of your own decisions? The aliens exchanged glances. None of them had a good answer. You want autonomy because you remember being independent, President Lim continued. You want to feel like you control your own destinies. But independence is what led you to betray us. Independence is what made you think you could sacrifice humanity to save yourselves. Prime Minister Vorthak found his voice. We have learned from our mistakes. We would never betray you again. You wouldn't betray us because you can't betray us, the president corrected. Your survival depends on our protection. Your economies depend on our technology. Your militaries depend on our support. You have no capacity for independent action. That is exactly what we hope to discuss changing, Speaker Grath said. President Lim stood up. The discussion is over. You will return to your worlds and continue serving your people under human guidance. If you serve well, your societies will prosper. If you serve poorly, you will be replaced. And if we refuse? Chancellor Drex asked. Then you will discover exactly how dependent you have become on human goodwill. The alien delegates left in silence, understanding that their request had been not just denied but mocked. Later that evening, President Lim stood alone on the memorial platform looking out at the stars. Fleet Admiral Seo Minsu joined her, still wearing her dress uniform from the ceremony. Do you think we've gone too far? The Admiral asked. Your father's final message was to make them pay for every life. President Lim replied. We've done that without destroying them completely. I call that restraint. But we've essentially conquered 3 interstellar civilizations without firing a shot. We've secured humanity's future, the president corrected. We've created a galaxy where human survival is guaranteed and human interests are protected. Admiral Seo looked at the alien ships in orbit, now flying under human command. What happens when we're gone? When the generation that remembers Kepler 442 passes away? The systems we've built will continue. Human economic and military superiority is now institutionalized. Future generations won't need to remember the betrayal, because they'll inherit the protection we've created. The Admiral nodded. And the aliens? They'll adapt. Their children will grow up in a human-dominated galaxy and accept it as normal. In 50 years, alien independence will be a historical curiosity, not a living memory. They stood in comfortable silence, watching human patrol ships move between the stars. The galaxy was peaceful, prosperous, and secure. It was also completely under human control. On distant worlds, alien children learned human languages alongside their native tongues. They studied human history as part of their basic education. They grew up understanding that humans were the protectors and providers of galactic civilization. The betrayal at Kepler 442 had taught humanity that trust was dangerous and friendship was temporary. The lesson had been learned well, and the galaxy would never forget it. Human civilization stretched beyond the local galaxy now, using the resources of 3 client species to fund exploration of distant star clusters. New worlds, new species, and new opportunities awaited. But humanity would never again make the mistake of trusting aliens with human survival. The stars belonged to humanity now, and humanity would keep them forever.